Chapter 2 – Language. This video is created and distributed with the permission of the Kabbalah Society, who are the sole copyright holder of this book. Please subscribe to be notified of when more chapters and books come out on this channel. Over its long history, Kabbalah has appeared in many forms. They may, however, all be divided into 4 categories of comprehension. These are the literal, the allegorical, the metaphysical, and the mystical. The origins of the first 3 levels of perception are rooted in natural man's faculties of sense perception, feeling, and thought. In the untrained, one of these aspects usually predominates, so that a primarily instinctive person will see the world through the senses, a feeling type through symbols and moods, and a thinker through ideas. Under ordinary circumstances, the 4th mystical view is not perceived by any of the others, although it can occur in all, in rare and extraordinary moments of consciousness that raise one above the natural condition. The appreciation that there are 4 traditional ways to approach Kabbalah explains why so much Kabbalistic literature is incomprehensible. Apart from the fact that it may not be in a modern idiom, only those writings related to our particular type will make any sense. Thus, one book may describe elaborate rituals, another a world inhabited by angels, demons, and apocalyptic dramas, while a third will spend several pages explaining the effect of a shift of balance in the Sephiriotic tree, which will disturb all existence. Even in ordinary matters, the doer does not understand the dreamer or thinker, and they in return regard him and each other as puzzles. It depends which natural type one is. Of mystical literature, little can be said because, as many mystics have reported, it is an indescribable experience, totally meaningless to the ordinary mind. All accounts are no more than dim after-images, and these are usually written up in one or other of the 3 lower forms of communication. The Bible is possibly the best example of the 4 approaches. It may be seen as a literal history, as an allegory, or as a system of abstract ideas, and it also contains the mystical element. An example of the various ways of appreciation is well demonstrated in the Temple of Solomon. From the physical view, the design and building of it is described in great detail. We read in 2 Chronicles 3-4 of the kinds of material and techniques used, the number of workers, native and foreign, and even the political and economic situation that allowed such a sumptuous building to be constructed. There is also documentation of the plan and how the site was laid out in 3 rising courts, with the temple at the apex of the complex. As such, the temple was a powerful focus of religious, political, and social attention. Built in Jerusalem, on the place where King David had prepared an altar, it was the greatest unifying factor in a nation that had been plagued by tribal conflict. To the physical man, the temple was where the nation met, where the rituals of worship of the God of Israel were carried out. It was there to be seen, visited, and used. While he might not understand what went on during the ceremonies, he did sometimes experience a moving presence that was unmistakable. If called on, he would fight and die to preserve the temple, and ultimately many did, who saw it as the literal manifestation of their religion, nation, and personal identity. Figure 8, menorah. The design of this candlestick was given to Moses on Mount Sinai. It is no ordinary decoration, but a metaphysical symbol. Its 7 candle holders represent the topmost and 6-sided sephirot, while the central column has 4 nodal points or sephirot, including the hidden one of dart or knowledge. There are also the 22 decorations that indicate the number of paths, while the general format defines the left and right pillars and the 4 worlds. Made of one piece of gold, it indicates a solid unity. This was the original model of the Tree of Life, which represented the divine world of emanation, the realm of potentiality, before the lower worlds came into existence. The allegorical approach reveals quite a different view. Besides being the religious heart of the nation, its symbolism expressed the commitment of a people dedicated to proclaim and obey the divine laws cut into the tablets of stone resting in the Holy of Holies. The act of building the temple was, moreover, not just for Israel. It was ordained to be an example to the surrounding heathen peoples. Should Israel meet its covenant with God, all would prosper. Should the covenant be broken, the destruction of the nation and the ruin of the temple would become a symbolic byword for forsaking the ways of the Lord. This covenant, sealed with Solomon and first broken by him, was to be played out in history. Indeed, so emotive is the emblem of the temple that its rebuilding, desecration, and final destruction are still commemorated to this day by Jews all over the world. Moreover, the allegory is so powerful and full of meaning that the temple has also passed into Western mythology, its form and content being used by the Church, the Freemasons, and even a fraternity of knights, the Templars. According to one great Kabbalist, the body is the temple and the keeping of the covenant, still relevant to the promise made to Solomon. Seen from an intellectual standpoint, the temple again becomes something quite different. Metaphysically, the three ascending levels of outer, inner, and priest courts can be regarded as the three lower worlds of manifest existence in relation to the fourth embodied in the temple. The temple is the place of the divine glory, before whose porch stand the bronze pillars of Boaz and Jachin. These columns represent the active and passive poles of the world of Absolute. Within the sanctuary are 10 candelabra, each of which is based on the model used in the tabernacle in the wilderness. The original menorah, or 7-branch candlestick, express the 10 principles or sephriot by which the world comes into existence. The 3 lights on the right define the active sephriot, and the 3 on the left the passive. Where their branches join on the central stem and foot are the sephriot of equilibrium. These are crowned by the middle light of holiness. Each of the 10 menorah in the sanctuary represents one sephria in the great tree of Absolute which they form together. Beyond lies the veil that hides the Holy of Holies, wherein hovers the Shekinah, or divine presence. Thus the temple site contains a complete metaphysical scheme. Figure 9. Temple. This archetypal image contains much metaphysical information. The outer court represents the physical world, the inner court formation, and the highest court the realm of creation. The temple itself symbolizes existence. The design is based on the original temple of Moses. In this, the sanctuary and the Holy of Holies represent the 2 higher worlds. Further, the high priests encountered the divine when they entered the Holy of Holies, while the priests and Levites operated as 2 intermediaries. The ordinary Israelites, at the bottom of this caste system, symbolize the material level. Image is Amsterdam Haggadah, 17th century. Practically, the whole Bible may be seen in these 3 different ways. All speak of the Torah, that is the divine laws of existence and their application to man. The rules are clearly set out, and the rewards for good or evil conduct are well illustrated. For the Kabbalist, the Bible has the 4th level of comprehension, that of the mystic. Indeed, it describes in great detail the nature of the upper worlds and how to gain entry into them. However, the prerequisite is a state of being different from that commonly experienced by most people. Everyone has had great moments of awakening. They are everyone's birthright, In them, the world appears to be totally different and indescribable in ordinary terms. Such events may occur in incidents of shock or periods of calm, moments of love and hate, or even in times of apparent indifference to life and death. Such clear, penetrating states often happen in childhood and form a profound impression, like memories of another country, which is, indeed, what they are. They do occur in youth and adulthood, but they fade and pass, as there is no way to sustain them. Drugs can precipitate them, but this is damaging to both the physical and psychological organism, and is not to be recommended. To enter such a state at will and maintain it requires much training. This is the purpose of Kabbalah. In earlier times, those interested in the mystical aspect of the Bible studied two particular texts. These were the opening chapters of Genesis and Ezekiel. This was because the former described the unfolding of creation as seen from above, and the latter a vision of the universe as perceived from below. These studies, the work of creation and the work of the chariot, were both theoretical and practical disciplines, and their objective was to raise the Kabbalist up from the natural into the supernatural worlds. However, such excursions were not without hazard, because to enter another dimension safely, one must have a firm foundation in this world as well as the next, which is why no one was allowed to study or practice Kabbalah until he was mature, if not in years, then at least in mundane terms. Stability is vital in Kabbalah. No one who seeks for the wrong reasons need apply, if only for his own sake. To play with the truth is not encouraged, because the first stages of initiation are concerned with the image one has of oneself, and few can withstand the exposure of their illusions. In the following account, a synthesis of the first three methods of comprehension will be used to outline the theory and practice of Kabbalah. The mystical aspect the reader must find for himself by applying the principles described. He may then make contact with a tradition, either through the line of succession or by direct revelation, that is, if it is willed from above. Meanwhile, all that can be done is preparation. We begin with a brief description of the great tree, remembering that all of the material is relative, because even Kabbalistic literature is in the language of the natural man, and is no more than a kaleidoscope of a unity that is incomprehensible to our undeveloped natural state. Only the Lord can work in absolutes.